Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. There's a non-denominational retreat weekend at the Resolution Center of Jacksonville, Florida. This will be a time of support and renewal for parents and grandparents on the journey of parental alienation, standing strong in resilience, paving the way for good health and a great future. This will take place April 22nd through the 24th at the Resolution Center of Jacksonville, Florida. I will have all the details in the podcast notes. You can find this at markdavidroseman.com. Retreat registration form will be there. I have a brand new guest. Her name is Sarah Leyva Pike. Joshua and Samuel Leyva, her children, were forcefully removed from their home in Virginia through a perjurious no-knock-warrant carried out by the Sheriff's Department. Since November 2015, their mother, Sarah Leyva Pike, had maintained a non-revocable court order which protected rightful Virginia jurisdiction and custody of both children. Tarrant County judiciary unlawfully took jurisdiction, in addition to leaning into bias and committing aggravated perjury, child kidnapping, and child trafficking across state lines. Since they were removed, Josh and Sammie have been prevented from every mode of contact from their mother. For over 2 years, Sarah has received zero evidence of their well-being. Tarrant County judiciary have continued to deny both Sarah and her children of the most basic constitutional rights, whilst continuing to target Sarah with multiple hearings without representation or ability to be present. The result of which has led to being labeled a vexatious litigant and fined over $20,000 in legal fees to the opposing party, and a habeas corpus civil warrant, in case anyone doesn't understand that, which, to her knowledge, contains 39 violations, requesting 6 consecutive months of imprisonment for each violation, where she would not be provided a jury due to non-criminal. And she's not looking for justice. She just wants to see her children, make sure their well-being is safe, and give them a hug. And she wants them back, as any mother would. I welcome you to Slam the Gavel, Sarah Leyva Pike. How are you?
Thanks. It sounds a lot more intense when you read it.
Oh, well, you know, you're a mom and things were done unjustly. And I think, you know, how are you holding up?
I'm still going.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at this point I'm just refusing to die. You know, I have started to lose hope of seeing my children again, and I'm just going to make their lives miserable. Like, if I have to be miserable, I'm just going to try to stop it from happening to anyone else.
Right, right.
That's the goal, to make sure nobody else has to go through it.
Well, you're also fighting for justice, not only for yourself, but other parents that can't fight for themselves. There are some people that just can't do it.
Oh yeah, Tarrant County, Texas. They have a long history. I believe they had a documentary done all the way back in 2014. It highlighted the judge on my case, Judith Wells, actually. So back in 2014, they had already been exposed for extreme constitutional rights violations. They've been exposed for trafficking children. Judith Wells was exposed for taking her attorneys on vacation. Like, she literally was. Oh yeah, I think that she's batting for the same team, but that's a personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see why else she'd be flying out her other female attorneys on vacation with her. That seems a little biased. At the very least, I feel that that is direct bias in any hearing involving those attorneys and the people they're representing.
And
it's
that's
very
even,
concerning.
That's even beyond a conflict of interest.
Oh, it absolutely is. Absolutely. But the point is that they've known for so long now. And it's the state of Texas. It's not even just Tarrant County. This is the Attorney General. This is the Texas Rangers. This is the FBI. This is the governor's office. I have spoken with every level of Texas, and I've spoken with every law enforcement. And the thing that's so crazy to me is nobody can quote unquote do anything. No one has jurisdiction. No one can file even a report. It's just magic how there's no accountability everywhere. They just run you ragged in circles and you never see your children again. It's disgusting. It's domestic terrorism. I don't think there's any better word for it.
Well, I was watching something on Facebook where a mother had said, well, if they want to take your kids to Texas on vacation, don't go there, hashtag Tarrant County. I
Oh
saw
yeah.
that.
I'm not the only one. I've spoken with another mom whose children were ripped out of Oklahoma, actually. She still had contact with her boys. She lost custody. It wasn't quite as extreme. Because in all honesty, the court set it up, but the extremity of the situation depends on how crappy your ex is. Honestly, that's what it comes down to. You know, some exes, once they have the power, they'll like feed you breadcrumbs. They'll let you do phone calls. They'll let you see your kids. As long as they're in control, they're okay. So with my situation, I'm in one where he has taken it to a level I never even imagined he could. You know, if someone had told me when we got divorced that I had married someone capable of erasing me from my children's lives, I would have been like, he couldn't do that. That's impossible. No, he did.
Oh, I'm very, very sorry. But you're continuing to, stand your ground. And I've been watching your TikToks and they are excellent. So, a lot of parents can't stand their ground. They're just emotionally crushed, but you keep fighting. How do you do it?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I feel like some days I just don't get out of bed. And then there are some days where I'm so angry, I'm literally outside of our house punching a wall until I can't feel my hands anymore. And, you know, I just do the next thing. So
Right.
I'll think of something or evidence will come up, because even I'm not the only one speaking out. There was a council meeting in Tarrant County where all three parents, their children are being raped and molested. And they spoke in front of the commissioner's court. You know, I might be doing the TikTok, but it's these parents who are actually going to the meetings when I can't go because I'll be arrested if I step foot in Texas. And, you know, they're the ones feeding me this information. Like, they send me documents, they send me their recordings. You know, I do it because every time I feel like I can't do it anymore, someone else reaches out and kind of lifts me back up to keep fighting. And we have to do that for each other.
You know, you mentioned this district attorney on one of your last TikToks.
Sharon Wilson. Yeah, District Attorney Sharon Wilson. She was at the Commissioner Court's meeting, and she actually lied to the Commissioner's Court. And she made up a bunch of stuff about these parents, and thankfully they followed her, and they were like, no, that is not true. Like, just things like saying that you know, the parents didn't have evidence. Okay, Brad Lamb's case is probably one of the most known cases and well-researched cases on the internet. Most people know who he is, especially dads, you know, other dads fighting. And he has over 185 pictures of horrific physical abuse on his children. And he turned around, he's like, so District Attorney Sharon Wilson, you know, what about all those photographs? What about the hospital records of anal damage on my 4-year-old? What about, and I know I sound like I'm saying this lightly, I'm really not. It's just because I'm in it every day, you just got to say it. And you shouldn't shy away from it, because people need to know how serious it is. And she didn't respond to that. You know, she was just like, oh, file a complaint with the Judicial Commission. Child rape is a felony. Child rape is not a civil issue.
Right.
Child trafficking is not a civil issue. And somehow we have created a society where anytime a judge or a county wants money, it all becomes a civil issue. It's like magic. Sprinkle some civil issue dust all over it. It's just so frustrating.
And you've been in this fight for so long. This is just, you know, a lot of parents even listening to this, unless people have been through it and have gone through this intrusion into your life and them taking your kids for really a lot of parents no good reason. And
No.
I think the reason is the Title 4B incentives, which is the foster care system.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's part of it. But I do think there's some more sinister things going on. I do
Mhm.
think that, you know, um, I think a lot of them are pedophiles.
Mhm.
I think that they are protecting their own personal self-interests and their dirty little habits. And I do think that some of the children going through the civil system, their parents are actually allowing their children to be used by these judges and these attorneys, outside the courtroom, and the other parent doesn't even know.
Mhm.
I've seen that situation. I've seen the situation where, the judge actually got caught for child pornography, and half the pictures were children that he had overseen their cases and placed them with the abuser. Like, who was giving? So a parent was providing those pictures to him. There's just no, it's not just the money, but the money is a huge part of it. Huge, huge, huge part of it. But I don't think the money could overtake it to the level that it's gone without there just being some pure evil mixed in.
Mhm. Yeah, I think parents that, I don't know, that they go after the target parent, I think they're more vulnerable, perhaps. They sense that vulnerability. This is a very narcissistic, patriarchal. I'm talking about the judiciary. I'm not
Mhm.
picking on men. I'm just saying it's
No, I just
that
think that they
system.
go after the strong parent. Like, that's kind of like I'm
Mhm.
sorry, you saw my face. I completely disagree with that, unfortunately. I think that they go for the strong parent, they go for the healthy parent, and
Right.
then over time they, because it's psychological abuse. It's 100% psychological and legal abuse, and they break you down until you become a weak person. But you didn't start
Well,
that way.
right, right. Oh, well, what I meant was, that is the vulnerable parent is the healthy, fit, loving parent. That's the one that's vulnerable because they it's who they target out. They
Hmm.
figure that out really quick. I don't know how they do it.
I think it's pretty obvious. That's
Uh,
why I think so many parents are so angry when you walk into a courtroom and one person is just allegation after allegation after
mhm,
allegation without any evidence.
mhm,
That speaks volumes. And on the other side of that, when you have a parent literally crying in front of you saying, he's going to hurt my child, he's going to kill my child, please protect my baby,
mhm,
like, and then they hand them to the other parent, they know what they're doing.
mhm,
They know. They
mhm.
absolutely know.
You know, are some of these parents that pro se litigants, or do they have attorneys?
Well, we're all pro se litigants now.
Mhm,
I know for one father, he spent over $600,000
mhm,
on his case with his children being raped. Nobody should have to pay $600,000, and he still has not seen his children in a year.
mm,
No, he's never been charged with anything. He's never been found guilty of anything. And this, unfortunately, the mother is a pedophile. Like,
mhm,
she went through the foster care system. I'm sure
mhm.
she was a victim. She was a victim that then, victimizes others. And yeah, we're all pro se now because that's what they do. They run us out of money, and then we go
Mhm.
to represent ourselves. And then if we're good at it, they make us vexatious litigants like they did to
Right,
me. I was
right.
made a vexatious litigant through an ex parte hearing. So I wasn't even represented. They decided to make me a vexatious litigant without even being able to defend myself. Tell me how in any way that's lawful.
Well, it seems this is not even I can't really call these probate courts, family court, whatever you wanna call it, a court. It's just not it's not legal.
Child
Uh,
trafficking mill.
yes,
Child
agreed,
mill. That's what it is. Just like
agreed.
a puppy mill.
Mhm. And a lot of parents don't realize this, and I think a lot of people, when they get out of foster care, I don't know if they realize that they will be targeted once they have kids.
Hmm. I've
I think
talked to
that
somebody who's 3 generations. She lost
right.
her children lost their children, and then her children lost their children. Like, she was telling me how her great grandchildren were taken by CPS, and I just, like, my heart broke. Like, And I
Wow.
wonder if my children are going to be targeted that way now. I mean, I'm sure that's something you worry about for your babies.
Hmm. Well, that's what once you've been tainted and touched by CPS, and I feel CPS should just be abolished along with these probate family courts, whatever you want to call them.
Well,
They should.
CPS isn't the issue because CPS can't do anything without a judicial signature. And that's just what it comes down to. I don't know if you know this, CPS didn't touch my case. I didn't have a social
Okay.
worker. There was no home study. There was zero investigation. Literally, a judge committed aggravated perjury on court documents, stepped out of her position, and ripped my children out of their home without finding any fault, without, and she even took judicial notice of our non-revocable court order. It's just, I'm still in awe. Like every time I tell people what happened to me, I'm like, this is a movie. Like this is impossible. This is fantasy. They can't do this.
Oh, agreed. But I mean, CPS is also a
No,
contributor,
they're
heavy contributor.
absolutely a bad entity. But
Yeah.
you know, if we remove sovereignty or immunity from the judges, you know, that's going to trickle down. Like at the end of the day, you can sue a CPS worker. You can't sue a judge. Like you should be able to sue anyone. You can't even get a judge charged in a crime, which I also think is insane. You know, if you file a criminal report against someone, no one should have immunity to crimes. It's not a civil issue, it's a crime. But
yeah, they have to. I know there are people working to try to get rid of this immunity issue, of this entitlement the judiciary has. It's oh, I have no words.
well, you know why the judge's immunity is protected so cavalierly, right? It's not even for the judges. It's for the other elected officials. It's for the district attorney. It's for the sheriff. You know, as long as you protect the people that are going to decide your fate, if you're ever in front of them, no one has any accountability. And that's why police officers are getting off murdering people, proving it in court, and they get like 6 months in prison. You know, even judges that get picked up one judge was caught for aggravated perjury because it was so extensive. None of her previous cases were investigated, and she also was only in prison for 6 months. She destroyed so many lives. She goes to prison for 6 months. And I know that whoever got those charges on her, they worked so hard to get those charges because it's next to impossible to get a judge charged. And they pulled it off.
Wow.
Yeah, there's just no accountability anywhere.
Yeah, that is sickening. That is sickening. And you know, I don't know if you know like the stats on how many parents, you know, in the ways that they've had their kids taken away happened to you, or was it through CPS, or was it through, you know, either a family member going to the courts, making up some accusation and just running it through the courtroom without CPS?
I think it depends on the county. I
Okay.
think some CPS, and I don't think all CPS workers are bad. I do think there's a few in them that genuinely want to help children. You know, foster parenting is important. My parents are foster parents, and they've helped every child who's ever come through their home get back to their parent or get placed in kinship. And that's my mom's argument. She's like, we need more good foster parents to be advocates for children, because she's like, CPS workers are, my mom hates CPS workers.
Yeah, I'm with her.
So I don't remember what your question was. Some counties, it's some counties. So it depends.
Okay.
It really does. Like some judges have more, I call it arrogant evil. Some judges are more arrogant evil than others. And some CPS offices are worse than others. I mean, in Tarrant County, I haven't gotten too many complaints about CPS. I've gotten a few. CPS always tends to be involved somehow, but like have a finger in it. But it seems that in the court proceedings and the paperwork, it's very much just a judge or the opposing party's attorney running the show. Like CPS does their little reports, and half the time they do lie on them, and then those are used in court by the two attorneys for each party. But it's the attorneys that are still duking it out for the most part.
And you would probably say, you know, these attorneys are the massive problem here. Would you agree, or?
I mean, I view attorneys the same way a CPS does. If law enforcement did its damn job, it would be a non-issue.
Mhm.
If a attorney got caught committing aggravated perjury,
Mhm.
they get charged with aggravated perjury. Guess what? Most attorneys would be more careful not to do that.
Mhm.
It's an enforcement issue. I feel that every single issue that is occurring right now in the civil system and to parents and to children is an enforcement issue in which law enforcement is not doing their job. Instead, they are assisting other elected officials in trafficking children.
Mhm.
And because that's where their money comes from, all the
Mhm.
money going into the counties, most of it goes through the civil court system out of the attorney general's office. And then that money pays the police officers. That money pays for the buildings, the community buildings. That money goes into your library. Like, that's why it's so bad, is that we are literally financing entire communities off the trauma of children. And
Mhm.
people do not realize that's where their tax money is going. Like, we are paying other people to traffic children, and it
Mhm.
has to stop. We just have to stand up to it. And I am really excited because I'm starting to see more and more people who haven't been through it start to see it. And
Mhm.
that's awesome. I don't know if you've seen that on TikTok at all, but I've
Oh,
had
yes.
a lot of people. I mean, hashtag save Josh and Sammie is up to 100,000 now.
Mhm.
And that's not me. I didn't post 100,000 times. That's other people.
Yeah.
So there's hope. I think it's coming. I really believe that we're going to see the civil court system completely bottom out. I
Mhm.
think it's going to be gone in 10 years.
I have heard other people say that too. I've heard within 7.
I mean, it really depends on the people. And the issue is, if you say anything quote unquote threatening, like, I'm surprised I have not been charged for threatening a judge yet. Because, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face, we need to stand up. Revolutionary War, Minutemen, get our guns, go to their offices and say no more. Do civil arrests. I'm not saying to go be vigilantes and hurt them. I'm saying do civil arrests, lock them up, do tribunals with the community, and just forget the sheriff, forget the DA. If anything, we should be arresting them too.
Mm.
But I don't think anybody realizes the extent that we're at right now. Like,
Mhm.
everyone's waiting for a hero to come in and do it.
Mhm.
Everyone's waiting for the attorney general's office to finally overturn one case, which they do
Mhm.
occasionally.
Yeah.
They throw out some crumbs, a case gets too big, but that doesn't stop the issue. That just gets one child back to one parent. That's
Mhm.
not enough.
No, and what they also don't realize is they're destroying multi-generations, as you have said. They're also destroying these kids' souls. These kids do not come back
No.
the same kid you had before. And, like, even with mine, I mean, we went through the the CPS mill and the family court, but, we also had a stepmother that worked in the courthouse, which made it even more exciting, right? So,
That's so disgusting.
oh, man, you'd say, "Well, this is a conflict of interest," and nobody really wants to hear it. Even your own attorney will say, "No, it's not a conflict of interest." It's like, "Yes, it is, and we need to move the venue." No one moves the venue. That's the problem, is when a parent says, "We need to move the venue." This is the problem. The attorney is not listening, and bear in mind, they're all at the same club bar at the watering hole,
Mm-hmm.
drinking like, water buffaloes. And,
And they campaign together.
right, they
They go to
do.
college together. They campaign together. They do dinners together. They do, you know, they promote themselves together. I think that's the most disgusting thing was
Mhm.
during the commissioners meeting, there was so much brown nosing. Like, I don't know how they ever washed the taste of shit out of their mouth.
Mhm,
It,
mhm.
like, they,
Exactly.
they they were just pushing. They're like, look at what I'm doing for the Black community.
Uh,
And these are all white men, by the way, old white men talking about how they're promoting the Black community. And it's Texas. I mean, that's not a huge issue in
mhm,
Texas with
mhm,
racism. um yeah, it's just unbelievable. And they were talking about churches who support. That is what we need to talk about. We need to talk the flipping church.
Mhm.
Like, I am so sick of quote unquote Christians. Like, what God do you worship? Because I don't think it's Yeshua. Like,
Mhm.
if you truly love God, if you believed in the Bible, you would not be silent.
Mhm.
You would not be promoting these. We literally have churches backing these elected officials.
Oh,
It's
yes.
sickening. It's
Well,
absolutely sickening.
I had found out that, the church was backing CPS to get kids, um, put into foster care as infants. And I, like, really lost it that day, to be honest with you. I was like, "Wait a minute." I always thought that that place was a helpful place for parents because you could go there for counseling if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did a variety of, services, but when I read that, I was like, "I am done with those people."
Gosh, Sheriff Wayborn, Tarrant County Sheriff, right? I found him on TikTok in an interview with the limbless preacher. You know, the limbless preacher, that really famous guy who was born without limbs and he goes and talks.
Mhm.
Yeah, he actually had Bill Wayborn on his show, on a national show, and did an interview with him and was like, "Hey, can you talk to us about human trafficking?" And I watched this show and I can't even describe how I felt. Like, Sheriff Wayborn is a child sex trafficker. He
Mhm.
is a child sex trafficker, and he's on this Christian show talking about the dangers of human trafficking and what he personally does to stop it. They just started a new anti-trafficking unit through the sheriff's office. They also just supposedly arrested 115 or 118 pedophiles in this human trafficking ring. I don't know if that's true or not. If they did, great, more scum off the earth. But the point is that they're trying to get good PR. So when you Google Tarrant County child trafficking, you don't see my name. You don't see my children's names. You don't see the names of every other parent crying out for help that is literally flooding the internet with evidence and documentaries and videos. You don't see that. No, you see that the sheriff's office and DA arrested 115 pedophiles.
Mhm.
Like, what? Really?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's more parents like you should be doing the TikTok, speaking out on Facebook, recording things.
Oh, don't do
Um,
Facebook. Facebook is so mean. I've been doing Facebook for 2 years and I
mhm.
literally was called crazy. I'm putting actual videos of recorded hearings of people like, she's just an upset parent because she didn't get her way. Like, Facebook attacked me so much. I
I'm
actually just got on
sorry.
TikTok a month ago. I just started TikTok like a month and a half
Uh,
ago. And holy cow, totally different people, totally different platform.
mhm,
I mean, I
mhm,
still get the random troll that I think is like friends with Nick or something.
mhm,
But at this point, I'm about, my son's turning 20. My son's turning 29. My son is turning 11
mhm,
in 6 days,
mhm,
and it is the third birthday. I haven't been able to tell him happy birthday. Like, even if there was a question at the beginning of who was right and who was wrong, like the level of abuse that has just existed for the last 3 years, there's no question of who's at fault at this point. There's no question of who was the abused and who's the abuser. And he
mhm.
won't get on any show. He has been invited by private investigators. He's been invited by Dulcifino. A lot of people have tried to talk to Nick and be like, hey, would you like to tell your side of the story? And that's the thing. The parents that speak out, if the other parent is not willing to share their side of the story, there's something wrong there.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and that's what they're doing is they're just not letting people speak. You're being censored, and sometimes, I wonder if I'm being censored on, well, not only Facebook, but on TikTok. I'm just questioning, like,
Oh yeah, you are. My videos went from being 60,000 views to 10,000 views to a couple hundred views to like 50
Mhm,
views. Like,
mhm,
nobody's seeing my videos anymore. Like, they were going everywhere.
mhm.
I'm surprised I'm not banned. I'm really am with some of the things I post. I'm surprised I'm not banned, but I am shadow banned and people aren't seeing my content anymore. So
Mhm.
if anybody wants to check it out, please share it or anything because it's evidence. It's all evidence.
Well,
I
what is
don't
your
do any dancing or anything.
oh, wait, I don't either, I don't either. What is your handle on TikTok?
It's at save Josh and Sammie. And Sammie is Mmie instead of a Y. So that's all it is. Save Josh and Sammie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's been the same message for 3 years, and I can't seem to get through to anyone.
Now, do you have parents reaching out to talk to you at all through maybe
All the
seeing your?
time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do all day. I mean, I was just on a podcast last night. I told you before we got on the show, and that's pretty consistent for me. It's either a parent
Mm-hmm.
or another show, and it's not always about me and my situation. I would get on and I listen to other parents, and I'll just sit on a panel on a podcast and help ask questions, or different people respond differently to different types of approaches. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to help people get their story out and not be afraid. It's not worth being afraid.
Yeah, and I've noticed that journalists won't respond, which I'm sure they're being controlled by the courts. I'm sure their newspaper is being controlled by the courts.
Most of them don't. I have had a few respond. I had one actually contact me, and she called me. She ended up calling me, and she was breaking down. She's like, I cannot run this. She's like, this would be career suicide for me. They will not let us cover anything like this. And she just was like, I didn't want to ignore you. She's like, I didn't want to just push you aside. She's like, we're aware this is like, she told me they were aware this was happening, but they could not cover it. So the media is owned. I don't know if it's owned by the courts. I think it goes a lot higher than the courts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are some very powerful people running the show in the background,
Mm-hmm.
and the court system is just an extension of that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's just the court system. I think it's the court system, it's pharma, it's our food, it's everything. The whoever is on that council board of making decisions for the world, basically for the United States, they greatly impact how the courts are run.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens. I just don't know who they are, so you have to focus on who you can expose.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people have been very, very frustrated with the press. And, it seems like when there is an issue, when a parent walks into this mess, you'll hear someone say, go to the press, it's like, and I just sit back and it's like, that is the most not going to happen.
Not even Project Veritas. Not even Project Veritas has covered Tarrant County. I have sent them recordings, documents. I sent them a copy of the council meeting yesterday. Even Project Veritas will not say anything. And I don't understand, because I thought they were supposed to be the Freedom Press, right?
Mm.
So
now, how is Project Veritas spelled? How is Veritas spelled?
Veritas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about asking TikTok to all just one statement and have all of us contact Project Veritas on Josh and Sammie's behalf. Like, just see if we can flood them, because I don't know what else to do. Or who do you think? If we were actually to get not parents, but people to work together and just pick one case at a time. Like, I'm not saying it has to be mine. It could be like Brad Lamps, like any case where the child is in serious danger. Who would we go to as a group? Like, if we could get thousands of us to show up somewhere, who can do something? Because supposedly the governor can't do anything. I was told by Governor Abbott's office they couldn't get involved. That makes no sense to me. Who has power?
I guess I would think the Attorney General would. They're supposed to be the oversight of some type.
So, funny you bring them up. I actually spoke with Lieutenant Rogers. I found his personal cell phone number. I recorded the call, by the way. You can find that on my TikTok. And he is the head of the child trafficking unit for the Attorney General. And I was speaking with him on this issue about how my children were interstate trafficked. He said, that's a civil issue. I said, no, sir, it's not. He's like, you keep misusing the word trafficking. I said, sir, under USC 18-242, it's child sex trafficking or through force, fraud, and coercion. And I was like, my children were forced through fraud and then were coerced to stay in Texas. That is and he's like, oh, that's a federal law. That's not our problem. And then I was like, are you kidding me? And then I told him about the contract. I was like, no, they violated contract law. Like, there are so many laws that involve the trafficking of my children that were breached that are Texas statutes. It's unbelievable how many people are involved. Like, Lieutenant Rogers is a child trafficker. And any person who aids and abets this, that is what they are. Especially if they're financially benefiting from it. Especially.
Well, I know that I had interviewed Jennifer A. Murphy on March 17th, and she was speaking out about child sexual abuse. And she was very interesting to talk to. I don't know if you want to listen to her, what she has to say, but she helps people as well. But you know, this is an extreme amount of child abuse that normal people that have not been tainted by the court system or CPS, that they have no idea what this is.
I feel like if people don't know by now, then they're never going to know, and it's a choice. I mean, I'm not even talking about the court system. What's come out about adrenochrome and Biden and Hunter's laptop and all the because hundreds of children have now been rescued in the Ukraine, by the way. Not that that's ever in our news. They took down an entire Chinese child trafficking unit where Chinese businessmen were literally going into the Ukraine and picking up children. They were doing that from the United States, by the way. They caught the United States bringing children out of the Ukraine to here and then disappearing. If people don't know by now, they are choosing ignorance because they don't want to face how evil it is. Their mind just does not want to jump to that level of understanding, because then you have to do something about it. You know, once you acknowledge it, you can't live the same way ever again, knowing that so many children are suffering every second of the day.
And the thing is, you know, I think there should be education about this. We'll say in the high school years of we'll just say 11th grade, 12th grade, throughout college, and also, you know, these young people that are getting married, like, you know, when they're young, 22, they have no clue what can happen. No. They have no clue what can happen to their families if someone should tell a lie on them. Or like you, what happened to you? Some people just, I mean, you know.
I definitely had accusations from my ex-husband. They are just unfounded. And then on the final trial, the judge did not acknowledge any of the accusations to be true. But yeah, I mean, there's accusations every single time, especially in cases when you're dealing with an abuser. They're going to drag your name through the mud. So I want to hear what I was accused of, because it's kind of funny.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so the first one was the standard, you know, she's a drug addict. I mean, that's the one they love to use. But then he went so far, he said I was a prostitute. I'm happily married to a wonderful man. I'm a prostitute. That I had hid the children from him for 5 years, and he had no contact with them. He literally had them for full summers. He had them every holiday. Like during our previous situation, we consistently traded the children back and forth without any issue. So, and then I threatened him with a gun. Magically, all the way from Virginia, I threatened my ex-husband with a gun. So it's unbelievable what people can say. And on top of it, the document, that affidavit, it wasn't signed by a notary. It looks like somebody just took a notary stamp and put it on the signature line. So I don't think he went to a notary. I think that he literally had a friend or something and just used their stamp and said, "Oh, look, it's notarized." But the judges won't do anything about it. Of course not. Like, a judge is there to assist the pedophile. The judge is there to assist the abuser.
Yeah, there is no justice in these courthouses. I don't know and understand why this has been going on so long. Like you, I just don't understand why things haven't been done. Like, I wonder why people aren't out there with, you know, having pictures on their cars of what has happened and what judge did this to them. On, you know, like
Because
the
by
other
the
side of
time
the
you
road.
reach that point of wanting to do that, I don't know about you, I'm broke. Like
Mhm.
I would have used my money in a totally different way right at this point. Like I would be printing flyers and putting them
Yes.
in windows of shops. I would get a car vinyl. I actually had to sell my car just to pay off some of the stuff. I didn't pay the courts, but to pay for some of the steps I've taken to get this story out there. I had to sell my car to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a great idea, but where does the money come from? Because that's why they bankrupt you. Before you realize how bad it is, they
Mm-hmm.
give you hope. They leave the carrot in front of you. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you have absolutely no resources, no friend, because you lose all your friends because you're obsessed with your case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you lose everything, that's when they cut you off completely from your children. And then you're like, how do I fight this now? Like you don't have any resources left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I did a podcast with Kenneth Gottfried, and he was excellent because, he calls out these child abusive judges. He's written 3 books.
Ooh,
Um,
go him.
and you can find him on Amazon, his books. One was with the psychology, the APA. Let me see if I can pull up his books. And they're not real lengthy, it's not good to write a lengthy book on issues such as these because they're stressful issues, and
Oh no. Anybody, because I know you had a book that was published
Mhm.
and
It's
that
short.
was well written. I actually spoke with your publisher once. She wanted me to write a book. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't have the emotional capacity to write a book right now.
Well, you will later. You will later, it's what Kenneth has been doing is he's had some flyers. He can print stuff up because, he can I don't know, he's a guy, he's real technical. He knows how to do this stuff. I'm not that technical.
I think guys also just are able to box it better. I feel like men are
Yes.
more doers than women. Like women want to talk about it and they want to discuss their feelings and they're worried about the children. The guys are like, okay, what can I go hit? What can I print? What can I do?
Right, right.
It
Yeah,
takes both sides to fight this.
he wrote the book Victim: How the American Psychological Association Kills Parents, Abuses Children, and Grows Their Base. And I found that one to be very interesting because the Psychological Association is, he's just really, that was very interesting. Trying to find his 3rd book here. Oh, but yeah, he'll go out there with his car and he's got pictures, of the judge, what happened, and he'll be doing a live on Facebook. I saw his one live. I'll try to find it and send it to you, but he gets it out there. He's letting them know, to, he's not putting up with this. And the most you can do is if all parents could get together with their cars or make
Mm-hmm.
poster boards, even if because I've done that. I don't have the money, the capacity to pay someone to print something out, but to make a poster board and hold it up and say, this judge is a child abusing judge and
Mm-hmm.
destroyed my family, whatever you want to put on it.
Well, one of the things I did is I love QR codes. I always thought they were so stupid. Like when you went to restaurants during COVID and they didn't give you a menu, they made you look at the QR code. It's so annoying. But I attached one of my documentaries to a QR code and I put my children's picture on it and I said, have you seen us? Breaking news. And I put them on business cards and
Mhm.
shipped them to a few friends in Texas. And they've been putting them in coffee shops and just everywhere. My friend tells me that she puts them through the window when she gets fast food. And all these people are looking up this QR code and seeing this documentary. And I think that that's a very easy, cheap way to do that. Like
Mhm.
50,000, not 50,000, 5,000 cards is
Mhm.
like what, $20?
Right.
So that's
Also,
one thing to do.
I think other thing that I have been doing, I go into Lowe's, Home Depot, that's kind of our date night on Saturday night is where we go to Lowe's. But I'll use the bathroom and I'll take business cards and I will put them in every stall in the ladies' room
That's awesome.
and just get the word out on all of this that, people need to be aware. And also, extended family members that have been, like what you and I had gone through, they're bothered by this as well. I mean, grandparents need to see their grandchildren. There should be ties to the grandparent that wants to see their grandchild, but no, we don't know where these kids are.
No, we have no idea. It kills my mom. Like my parent, and they feel so guilty because they were ripped out of their home. Like my mom feels that she should have run or hid, or it was just so unexpected. I went to Texas for an appeal. I thought it was for an appeal against my ex-husband because my attorney set me up, and I walk in, it's a habeas corpus, and I'm under unlawful arrest without a warrant. And I'm standing there, I'm like, what just happened? And then they had the judge literally went off the record and made a private phone call to a random judge in Virginia who I don't even know who they are. They just retired. They retired immediately after doing this and got a warrant. And I never saw my children. I never even got to say goodbye to my children. It's just...
So they were kidnapped, basically.
They were really kidnapped. Like, that word is not just... They were not legally kidnapped. They were not, oh, I lost a court hearing. They were kidnapped.
Yes.
It's... Yeah. That's why I do this. I don't want to write a book because so many of you all have already done that. Actually, I want to sit down and write a speech presentation, kind of like a TED Talk. And I want to go into churches, and I want to go one church at a time. I'm just going to tell them to talk about child trafficking and the dangers and how to be aware. And then they're going to get the whole damn spiel. Like, they're going to see pictures there. Because I think that that's important. I think we have to start waking up people who claim to be good people and either expose them as frauds or give them the opportunity to step up and do something. I think we just need to start putting it right in people's faces. And I think going around and doing talks and presentations is a great way of doing that.
And, there was... for instance, Family Court Awareness Month was November. And so I made up 2 signs. I, called a couple people. Will you stand with me at the courthouse? As I held my little, well, they were big signs, and it was cold. I didn't have gloves, but I stood there for about 2 hours is all I could do during heavy traffic time.
Okay, I was going to say, how many people saw you?
A lot of people saw me. Oh,
That's
yes.
awesome.
A lot of people saw me, and get this, there was press there. The press was parked kitty corner from me. They could see me, I could see them. The guy walked across the street holding a camera. I thought, maybe he'll come to me. No, he just keeps going down the street. Then he's coming back, and I thought, well, maybe he's going to come over and talk to me. And he just went to his car, put the camera away, and drove off. And I'm standing there, and the thing is, a lawyer walked by, and she said, you're standing in the wrong place. Family court is over there. I said, well, there's no traffic over there. Cars can't see me over there. That's why I'm over here, so cars can see coming and going. I'm holding these signs.
I'm sure they loved that. I want a freaking billboard. Really, I want to put a billboard in the heart of Fort Worth if I could ever find a way to afford it. And I don't even know what I would put up there. Like, there's so many links of things, because I have recordings of so many elected officials and judges literally trafficking children, like red-handed. I mean, just the district, I have the recording of the district attorney that I sent you. I mean, she literally red-handed lied about sex trafficking children. Like, what do you put on the billboard when you have so much? I'm like, maybe just their faces. I'm tempted just to put all their faces up there and just put child traffickers, hashtag save Josh and Sammie. Like, I feel like that's all it needs to say. If they can look it up, they can look up the hashtag.
Yeah, that is just, what they have put parents through. I just,
Not even
they have
parents, it's the children.
Well, but the parents are also
my children
suffering.
have no voice. Oh no, the parents are, but we are adults, and I'm not trying to diminish anyone's pain, because I am in so much pain. But like these we have community, we talk to each other, we have groups where we have some way of finding support. Our children are trapped in a house with an abuser with no voice, no support, no one. Like I'm sorry, like it's just...
Well, the thing is, we have to speak up for those that can't speak for themselves. I don't know if that comes from the Marines, that they say that their job is to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. At least I remember that from the film A Few Good Men. But, that's what even though you and I have been through this disaster, we have to speak for people that can't speak for themselves.
Where's the military? I've contacted the military about Tarrant County. The military is just another conglomerate of this whole connected upness to destroy society. That's all it is. It's everything, every department, anything with a big name on it right now is literally working against us, not for us.
Mm-hmm.
How do you combat that?
I think we're all trying to figure that out. I think what we can do is get our voice out there, and maybe there will be somebody who actually will catch on to this and actually say, oh, I've got an idea. I mean, this is the best I can do, is offer a platform for you to speak.
No, that's awesome. What you do is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but the thing is, like, you and I speaking out, hopefully that will attract someone who maybe knows what to do.
Well, I talked to one of the top investigators for the FBI headquarters, and I think that's here in Quantico, Virginia. I finally got through. The FBI just got tired of me calling them all the time, so they finally put me through to a real person. And I recorded this call, and the exact same thing. She's like, that's not the definition. And then I told her the definition. She's like, only if there's monetary value. And I said, there is monetary value. And I started going off about it, and she just like overstepped me, and she tried to speak. She's like, it's because, and then I said that it was treason, and she got really mad. And by the end of the call, I was like, thank you, I recorded this whole thing. And she immediately hung up. She was so pissed. But they absolutely know that our government is intentionally trafficking our children, and they are all trying to hide it under quote unquote civil issues.
Right.
But there is no higher up. Like, who? It's a detective for Quantico. Who do you go to if a detective at Quantico will do nothing?
Right.
That's
even
so crazy.
Up in Missouri, there were, I think it was 947 or close to 1,000 children that had disappeared out of foster care. And why isn't this beyond national news? I mean, I caught wind of this probably I think it was like in the fall, maybe November, I'm thinking. But I'm like, okay, so why isn't the FBI all over this? I think they made a statement. I can't recall. It was a while back. I got a lot going on, but nothing was looked into as to their whereabouts.
Last time I checked, for Texas, it was 2,963 children. And those are only the ones listed. That's it. There's so many unlisted children.
Now, was that for the state of Texas?
That was for the state of Texas. 2,963 was the last number I saw for missing children from foster care. And some of these children that are missing, or quote unquote runaways, they're under the age of 1. Okay? They are under the age of 1 year old. So they are either trafficking them out intentionally and just say that they ran away, or they're murdered or something. There's no way a 1-year-old can run away from home.
No, they're totally absconded with against their will and their parents' will. And I have seen CPS go into homes of people that are, well-to-do, or it doesn't even matter if you're poor. They have no right to trample into your home and walk all over you. And even trying to sue a caseworker, you can't, they've got immunity too.
They don't have lawful immunity.
They
have judicial. They have judicial. No, they do, because of the people that are surrounding them and going to protect them. But lawfully, on paper, they don't have immunity. CPS is actually a privatized organization. It's not a government one. I don't know why everyone thinks it's a government one. But if you go to like the stakeholders, if you look behind the curtain, it's not run by the government.
Unless every state is different. Everyone's saying every state is different, every county is different, this, that, and the other thing. And you notice that, like, when they're sued, and if they are successfully sued, they change their alphabets. Like if they're called DCFS, then they're now called whatever, CYSD. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, they change their alphabets when
exactly.
They get sued.
And you can only do that if it's a corporation. You can only, if it was a department within the government or within that state, they wouldn't be able to change their name that way. They can only change their name because they're a corporation. They're a for-profit corporation. Oh, yeah. No, but I mean, officially, like if we're just talking finances, we're not even talking about trafficking children or incentives. But if you look at the bare bones of CPS, they are a for-profit corporation. It's a business, and it's claimed as a business. I think it's more of a nonprofit business, or quote unquote, on the tax records. I'm not sure because they receive grant funding, but it's not a department, you know?
Well, I think taxpayers should know more about this department and other departments and what parents are going through. And people should be really vigilant and aware. And I'm glad you came on my podcast to speak out. Is there any advice you could give to parents?
Record everything. Record flipping everything. Especially when caseworkers, so if you are dealing with CPS, I didn't deal with CPS, but CPS shows up at your door, you open your door, you turn on your camera and you say, you do not have permission to come into my home, but I'm not going to prevent your entry. You have to say it like that. You have to be so sneaky, because you have to put them in a situation where you're not letting them in, but you're not refusing, because if you refuse, they put it in their report and they're like, oh, the child's being abused. That's the best advice I can give. Record everything. Even if they tell you not to record, it's always better to be on the safe side. According to the Whistleblower Act of 1989, it doesn't matter what the law is. If you record fraud, it's fine. It's covered. You are permitted to do that, especially if it's a legal entity. And if you record something and there's no fraud, just delete it, and then you're safe legally.
Well, okay, so if parents want to reach you, they just go to your hashtag, Save Josh and Sammie? Or
if anybody wants to reach me, it's the @ symbol, Josh and Sammie, Save Josh and Sammie on TikTok. And then my email, if you want to put my email on, I'm a little slow, but I will answer it. So it's...
what is your email?
It's sarah.fcacc@gmail.com.
Gotcha. I will put that in the podcast notes. And
by the way, FCACC, in case, because it's a lot of C's, it stands for Family Court Anti-Corruption Coalition.
Excellent.
So that's the one that I have everyone message, so I don't get it confused.
Excellent. You were excellent. Don't jump off, okay? Because I'd like to have you come back on as a return guest as things progress.
I'm not even sure how they would progress. Maybe I should actually tell you the whole story, because it's crazy. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again. Hang on, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Sarah Leyva Pike in the future and other guests. Thank you again, Sarah.